All right, we are ready for part 2, which is page 4 of the Ecology Stations student worksheet. And we're starting at the top with station 5. It says, what do bearded dragons eat and what eats bearded dragons? So what do bearded dragons eat? You needed to make sure to put actual detailed examples of what they eat. So if you just said insects and vegetables, that is not correct. You may not get a +1 for just saying insects and vegetables. It is not detailed enough. And I want you all to know, once and for all, you're going to hear this over and over, scientists use details. They don't use big general terminologies. They get very specific. And so I want you to be specific. When you see something general like insects, I want you to be thinking, well, what insects? Or if you see that it says vegetables, but what vegetables? And if you were to look up what insects do bearded dragons eat, what vegetables do bearded dragons eat, you would have gotten a huge list. So the main insects the bearded dragons eat are crickets, mealworms, roaches, waxworms, are pretty much the big four. There are many other insects that you will find them eating, so you could have included other specific names of insects to get that point. You also could have listed things like greens, like arugula or kale, raspberries. So any types of fruits or vegetables that you list are also pretty, I will accept. There are a few vegetables that they don't eat, but we're not going to get too hung up on that at this moment. I'm looking for you to be fairly specific. So you get a +1 if you listed at least, I'm going to say, 4 things under this box. If you'll notice how many lines you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have actually 7 lines. You could have listed 7 things on 7 lines. I'm going to ask that you have 4 in order to have gotten the point. I feel like that's being exceedingly generous. All right, so you'll put a +1 out to the side if you did indeed give at least 4 specific examples. Then, what eats bearded dragons? Now, this gets tricky because, the internet is not always a reliable source of information. And as some of you know, you looked up what eats bearded dragons and you discovered that bearded dragons are eaten by crocodiles. Okay? Now, I am here to tell you that whoever put that on the internet, they are whacked. Okay? Because maybe in a zoo that could happen. Maybe, I don't think so. I'm just telling you that bearded dragons are desert animals. And well, I don't think crocodiles and alligators are desert animals. And you don't either. You know better than that. So always be thinking with a real open mind on where is this information coming from and does it seem to make sense? And then check it with other sources. So when I actually go online and I look at these kinds of things, sure, there's one box at the top that I can see that gives information kind of in a general sense. That shouldn't be the only place you're looking. In fact, you should then scroll down and look at some of the other pages and read the actual pages, like the headlines. This one says, bearded dragon A to Z animals. Well, that's going to be very general. Then it says here, what are the natural predators of the bearded dragon? By Quora. That sounds like a very reliable source. Predators of the bearded dragon include the gull-billed tern, goannas, black-headed pythons, dingoes, birds of prey, cats, meaning I'm thinking cats like desert kind of mountain cats, and foxes. And sometimes it says bearded dragons will eat other bearded dragons, which I still find a little unusual and I'm not sure is entirely believable, but we'll take it. So those are the specific examples. If you said that, one more, and parasites. They talked about how parasites live in bearded dragons and eat the bearded dragons from the inside out. I know, so could have put that down. Score for you if you did that. Good job. Way to go. That's an excellent answer. All right. So for this particular question, you can get 1 point. I'm going to say if you listed at least 3 specific examples, 3 of those specific examples. If you said, like cats and dogs and, crocodiles, then no, you have to have at least 3 correct specific examples. And so I named those for you. Okay, so that's worth +1. So out here you could have +1 for this box and +1 for this box. Okay, then it says draw 2 different views of the pond water. So I'm looking for colored pencils because that's what I asked you to use. So you had to use colored pencils in each of these circles. You also had to be as specific as possible, like detailed. So if you just put like a little circle or little dots, you don't get the point. You actually have to have drawn like some of like the green algae, some of the strands crossing over the Petri dish, maybe a little bug in between some of the algae. Like I should see a lot going on, not just 1 or 2 specks of pencil in the circle. So again, if you've drawn using colored pencils and you've actually filled in the details, it's +1 for this circle and +1 for this circle. So you can put +1, +1. If you are not specific or detailed, you may not give yourself +1. You just simply put nothing. All right. Finally, our last section is Station 7. And the first question says, what animal do you think you're looking at? You should have said monarch butterfly. A monarch butterfly or monarch butterfly wing. That's worth 1 point. If you said butterfly, no, it's not specific enough. So monarch butterfly is worth +1. You can put it out here in the margin. Then the next question, do you think this animal is more often a predator or prey? You could have said either one. This is an optional kind of you choose. So, but you had to write it in right here, predator or prey, like actually answer the question. That is also worth a +1 if you answered it. And finally, why do you think that? You had to use complete sentences. So if you only wrote in phrases, no points. If you wrote in complete sentences with a capital and a period, then I will accept it. You could have given any reasonable explanation, such as, I believe that the monarch butterfly is prey more often than not because of its size, period. It is small and weak, comma, and maybe cannot stand up to stronger predators. So, or you could have said prey. You could have said the monarch butterfly has the ability to overcome smaller insects, period. So you should have put some reasonable explanation of why you thought that it was more one way or another. And I don't really care which side you chose, but you had to back it up with some sort of evidence. So you think about your answer, and if you think it's pretty darn good evidence, then you go ahead and give yourself a +1. Okay? So if you add up all your points now, you'll notice that you'll have 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7.